we have a second? Perfect. Do we do a roll call vote on that?
Yes.
I ask every month. Okay. Member Bogus?
Yes, sir.
Member Bollinger?
Yes.
Member Booth? Yes. Member Brinton?
Sure.
Perfect, thank you. And yes, we're coming out of executive?
Yes.
Not yet. Member Davis? Member Earl?
Yes.
Member Green? Member Hall? I'm a yes. Member Hart?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Carey? Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Reel?
Yes.
And Member Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go then to, we had an action item on R277-113, LEA Fiscal and Auditing Policies. This was in Finance Committee. I'm going to turn it back over. Never mind. I'm going to start right here.
Where did you go?
Chair Davis stepped away for a second.
Can you do it?
So
I like the clarity.
who's the staff who is helping? Scott is, maybe Cindy's talking to Scott.
I will go find
Can
out
we-
that I can.
Can we get some?
Can we move to the training? I mean, training.
Chair Davis, are you ready to move on R277-113? Okay, time is yours.
I move that the board approves R277-113 LEA Fiscal and Auditing Policies Draft 1 on second and final reading and bring back the section that talks about accrual and contra revenue accounting to the May Finance Committee meeting, actually to the May full board meeting.
Do we have a second? Member Davis, would you like to speak to that?
I would like to speak to it. Thank you. It has literally taken me 5 years and probably the last few hours to finally understand what I haven't understood about this this requirement for accrual and contra revenue accounting in our LEAs, and it has been an ongoing debate. And when this rule popped back open and I just happened to look down, I was like, oh man, we're open again, and I missed it in Finance Committee. I swear I have this conversation, contra revenue PTSD. But I'm finally at the place of this now. We need to keep contra revenue accounting. What I haven't understood is that there are only two choices in GAAP for recording the revenues the way they need to be recorded. One's contra revenue and one's expenditure. And so you got to pick one, and you're going to have to enter it anyway. So LEAs are probably going to be mad that we have to, but if you have to do one or the other, we should have some consistency in one. The bigger issue is the piece right before that in the rule that talks about accrual. Because what we're saying is, with the accrual, which our LEAs aren't even doing right now, the ones that are doing it are because the BA is an auditor and spends hours manually making it happen. But to make it happen for them to be compliant in what's in our rule, we have to have systems that talk to each other, finance systems and SIS systems, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to a place to have that happen. And so the accrual piece is requiring, even though it's not happening, it's requiring them, LEAs, to go in when a student registers for a wrestling class and go in and register for the wrestling class. Then they're supposed to go in and document that as a financial. When the kid pulls out halfway through the summer and decides not to take the class, they have to go back in and enter it again. This is hundreds of students across the state in order to get the full accrual part before the year end. So I'll be quick and I'll end this, but I just want you to know, I just pulled up our last school fees cap. And this is what it says. Not cap, yeah, cap. So our monitors are going in and they're monitoring our LEAs. Here's the last one. There's two findings. One is the fee waiver application link takes you to the wrong place on the website. So you've got to fix the link and then we'll go in and check it and then you'll be done with that part of the cap. This is a charter school that these two things are coming from. I don't even need to say what it is. And then the next one is that there's a policy required, and the policies, the statement is listed in the policy, but not on another page with the supply list. So you've got to put it in both places instead of the one place. That's an example of the whole cap from this school. So if someone came to me and said, look, there are students all across the state that are deserving of fee waivers and they're not getting them because you are not doing full accrual every day, that I would say, we're going to do whatever it takes and it's going to be done. But that is not what's happening here. And I finally understand. And I even had someone from finance say to me, oh, I finally understand after 5 years what the main concern is. It's taken this many conversations and this much time. So I'm going to leave it at that. But we are going to work on language with our auditor, Debbie Davis, and with our finance team and with input from the LEAs. And we're going to get to what right looks like in the language. And I'm asking that we bring it to the May full board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Davis. Will you just keep an eye on the screen? There were some questions about your motion. We want to make sure we get it correct. So just keep an eye on that. And this would be a substitute motion from what came out of committee. While you're looking at that, I'm going to go to, okay, go ahead.
I would say this section regarding accrual for the May full board meeting. Section regarding accrual. I'm going to quickly add one last little thing.
Okay.
A lot has changed since this started all these years ago. We had these big audits that kicked all of this off. But the things that have changed, I'll just mention a couple. One is that all the textbook fees are gone. So we've gotten rid of a bunch of our fees now. And then another one is that we know school fees are here to stay based on this legislative session with all the extracurriculars and Mark Strong's bill. So that's another piece. But there's also was a concern. What if I pay fees as a parent and someone else doesn't pay fees? Then my fees are going to go to pay that person's fees because they didn't pay. And I want to be able to see if that happened or not. So we have largely mitigated that concern by requiring exact spend plans. And so we can talk more about this in May board meeting, but I just want people to kind of keep this in their heads. This is a huge, complex, hairy situation. And that's just some background, and we can talk more about it in May if we need to, but that's the background and that's what we're going to work on.
No, this is helpful. I just want to make sure we're speaking to the motion, and I get that it's all related, right? You spoke a lot to the rule and why you want to change the rule and why
That's why I want to bring it back in May.
Why you want to bring it back in May instead of try to
changes.
tackle that here. So I get that. And so I'm going to restate the motion to make sure it's clear to everybody here. And then we've got a couple of comments and or questions or amendments. I don't know, but a couple of lights on, I'll say that. But let's make sure that we try to stay as close to the motion as possible. So the substitute motion by Member Davis is that the board approves R277-113 LEA Fiscal and Auditing Policies Draft 1 on second and final reading and bring back R277-113 Section 8 for the May full board meeting. Is that correct, Member Davis? Yes, sir. Okay, over to Member Lear.
I have 3 questions, and they're 5-word answers at the most.
How long are your questions?
Not very.
Okay.
And these are to Member Davis? Is that?
Yes, if that's all right, Chair.
It is. Let's get her light prepared.
First of all, do you have enough preliminary information to know if what you're proposing is doable?
Yes.
Thanks. And also, is this motion consistent with these new bills we have regarding school fees?
To my knowledge, unless something goes in to the language, which to my knowledge is not there, and says you have to have full accrual. We don't even have that at the state, let's be honest. And our LEAs do this in a variety of ways, but it's at the end of the year.
Okay, I just don't.
So if they say you have to follow GAP, standard accounting procedures, then what I'm proposing works for our required governmental accounting procedures.
Great. And third thing, I have, and I couldn't tell if you were proposing one of your final statements as upcoming, or if it was just an illustration of something, but I would have grave concerns about parents being able to see other students by name or even student ID number who have or have not paid fees. That was a central issue. Privacy for students who could not afford to pay and their families was a central issue to the permanent injunction.
That is not at all what this would do. What I am proposing is a consideration of removing the full accrual, because they're not doing it right now for good reason, because it again would be hundreds of thousands to get the systems to talk to each other. But even when they do, it will not, it won't allow a parent to go in and see what other parents have paid. It will, and actually monitors can do that right now based on the annual full accrual.
And
they
I
can
can
go in and see who's paid and who hasn't, and if the money was used to compensate these folks, or if it was used, if the district was compensating and sending out their collections and that such.
And to just respond briefly to, I don't know exactly who you mean by monitors, but if auditors could see that, or
Our monitors and auditors.
if our employees could see that, that's a very different situation than random parents seeing if other parents paid or not. So I'm
Correct.
very comfortable with the first, not with
Just
the latter.
quickly, what our monitors can't see right now, unless our LEAs are hand entering in all this, is who registers and withdraws and never takes the class and registers for something else and withdraws, and all
Gotcha.
that back and forthing taken out of, that's in SIS. Our auditors can go and see that in SIS right now, but it hasn't been hand entered into the finance.
Yeah, and we're maybe missing each other in terms of conversation.
Yeah,
but
but
I'm
what you're
only
saying is not
concerned about
what
the
this is.
privacy element. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Member Bollinger.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to direct a few questions to the maker of the motion, with your permission. Member Davis, just to clarify, the idea for this is are you going to take it back to the Finance Committee and make some changes, or just working on the draft with some updated changes?
Just going to work on the draft and bring it to the full board in May.
Okay, one follow-up question. And will this address the concerns that have been shared by the business administrators in our state?
Some. It will address the overarching concern of the full accrual this minute. It won't address the people who don't want to use contra revenue accounting. But if we are requiring government accounting standards, which they have to do anyway, their only other option is one other option. It's the same amount of work. So we might as well get consistency across the board, and probably still aren't going to want to do that. But that piece, I think we're going to have to keep.
Okay, I appreciate those answers. And with that, I've had a business administrator reach out to me and kind of give me some back history of this. Has been a concern for a long time, going back to 2021, and a group of business administrators, he had said, had come to a board meeting to express their concerns about what you're talking about, and only 6 of them were able to speak, and all of them spoke against it, and it passed anyway. So I think there's been some frustration. So I appreciate you and applaud you for being willing to take this on. And if this is going to come back with some changes, then I can support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion before the board is that the board approves R277-113, LEA Fiscal and Auditing Policies, Draft 1 on second and final reading, and bring back R277-113-8 for the May full board meeting. Let's vote. Member Brenton?
Abstain.
Thank you. Thank you. That passes 11 in favor, 3 abstentions, and 1 in opposition. The abstentions being Member Brenton, Member Bogus, and Member Green. The no vote coming from Member Carey. With that, that concludes any carryover business.